Hey there, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth, as always with ideas and insights, what to pay attention to when you're growing and scaling your business. So welcome to today's show, and I'm thrilled today to dive into something I'm really passionate about, and we've been talking a lot about this in the last few weeks, but I wanted to get just like one more element into this because I want to talk about strategic hiring for small business owners. Because if you're running a small business today, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say hiring is brutally challenging right now. And it's not like you can't find people, but we're talking about deeply qualified people who are actually a fit for your company on all different levels. Because the landscape really has changed dramatically. Finding qualified, accountable employees who can think strategically feels like you were searching for that wild unicorn out there. And, I've spent years as a servant leader working with small businesses, and I consistently see the same struggles playing out. So let's start with a fundamental truth. The best hiring decisions go far beyond skills and experience. When I work with small business owners, what I see a lot of times is that they exclusively focus on qualifications. Like, does this person, do they have the ability to do the job? Do they have the capacity, right? And while obviously that's really important, it misses the deeper question that truly predicts success. The question that I always encourage business owners to ask is actually very simple. And I learned a version of this in one of Steve Jobs' books. So the question really is, why do you want to work here, right? It's super, super simple, but what it does is it cuts through kind of the rehearsed interview responses and it reveals something much more valuable, which we want to get which is what is their true motivation to get this job. And the answers themselves kind of matter less than what they reveal about themselves at that moment, what they reveal about their mindset, and the really big thing, their alignment with your vision. I remember interviewing someone for a marketing position at a client's company, and when I asked, why she wanted the job, she said, look, I want to learn digital marketing because I believe it's the future and I know that this company is really innovative in this space. So, you might think that this is a self-serving answer because obviously her answer isn't around helping the company. It's about what she would gain. And honestly, at first I was a little taken aback because I was really used to people talking about how they would serve the company, right? But she became one of the most valuable team members because her personal growth aligned perfectly with the company's needs. And this is actually one of the most important things to look out for when you're talking to people. So the most revealing candidates are often the ones that have kind of what you might think of selfish answers, the ones who honestly share why they hope to or what they hope to gain from the position. The candidate who says, for instance, I want to develop leadership skills will likely work much harder at becoming a better leader than someone who gives you kind of a generic, hey, I just want to help the company succeed response, right? And you already know that that's kind of a canned response that they're going to give no matter who they're talking to. I once hired somebody who told me, I need this job because I just bought a house and now I have a mortgage to pay. Well, that person became one of the most dedicated team members, and her personal motivation translated directly into her commitment and her work ethic. She was on it. So as servant leaders, we sometimes mistakenly believe employees should primarily be motivated by serving our vision, right? It's important that they're in alignment, but the reality is that alignment happens when their personal ambitions intersect with your business goals. So when someone's personal growth path aligns with what your company needs, that's the sweet spot. That's when it truly works. That's when it's truly that win-win situation that we're all looking for. Another powerful question to ask that I recommend is, hey, tell me something that you're proud of. And the answer really reveals their true intrinsic values. What matters to this person? If someone tells me they're proud of persevering through a difficult project, hey, that tells me something about their grit and determination. If they share a story about collaboration, it suggests that they value teamwork, and that's obviously what's really important to you. And when I think about a lot of our clients, they struggle with vision alignment because they don't have clearly articulated yet what their vision and values really are. So they're not really clear. So it's really difficult to find somebody who's in alignment if you're not really clear with what you're really looking for or what that alignment looks like, right? So before you can hire for alignment, you need crystal clarity about what matters to your organization here. What's the mountain you're climbing together? What principles guide how you climb it? Everybody needs to know that, and anybody who is really wanting to be that true A player, they're going to interview you just as much as you're interviewing them, because they know that they need that match, right? That true alignment. I worked with a healthcare technology startup at some point that was really struggling with turnover, and when we dug deeper, we discovered that the founder had never really clearly communicated the mission beyond, making healthcare better. Duh. So after we helped them articulate a very specific, crystal clear vision, right? And they did it right. It was the 3-year strategic plan that really helped everybody understand, where's this company going? How does everybody fit into it? How does the whole thing align, right? It was a whole different story, because what they came up with was making preventative care accessible to underserved communities through affordable technology. And guess what? Their hiring improved dramatically. They could now identify candidates whose personal motivations aligned with this very specific mission. So, when you think about it, strategic hiring isn't just about finding competent people. It's about finding the right people whose personal goals intersect with your business needs. Like, remember here, people rarely leave jobs, right? They leave misalignments. You've heard me say many times, they don't leave jobs, they leave leaders, but that's a misalignment. When personal ambitions don't align with company direction, disengagement follows, and now nothing's going to work well. So I want to share a framework that I use with clients for vision-aligned hiring. First, of course, identify and clarify your company's true north. So first you have to identify that for yourself so you really understand what it is. And then, of course, is what are you ultimately trying to achieve? Not just revenue goals. I mean, they play in there, of course, but the much more important question is impact goals. So secondly, identify the values that guide how you operate. These aren't aspirational platitudes, but actual behavioral principles you follow daily. So this has to be something that you're actually practicing. And then third, design interview questions that reveal alignment, like, why this role? What are you hoping to learn or achieve here? And then listen beyond the words to the energy and authenticity that behind the candidate's responses. One of my mentors at some point, who was, she is a recruiter for like some really big companies in Silicon Valley. And she always said to me, let the candidates reveal themselves. So that's a really great piece of advice because they always reveal themselves, and they always show you patterns that help you understand how this entire engagement is going to go. And then finally, also be really honest about your company's reality during the hiring process, because overselling creates misalignment from day one. If you are in a place where there's still stuff that you're figuring out, and that maybe, you're on the way to creating structure and clarity and all that, be honest about that, because if you're overselling it, they're going to find out quickly that your house is a mess, and they're going to leave. So, I've seen small businesses transform their hiring success truly by shifting focus from skills to alignment. One of our manufacturing clients reduced turnover by 60% by simply prioritizing candidates whose personal goals aligned with company direction, even when they needed more training and more technical skills, because those are much easier to come by than that true personal match. Now, on the other hand, I want to point out some pitfalls and red flags when you're interviewing and developing your interview scorecard. Make sure that you listen for those rehearsed answers and don't mistake them for like genuine motivation. Candidates often prepare generic responses about company mission, so dig deeper to uncover their true, authentic, personal drivers. And then also listen for overcorrecting by ignoring skills entirely, because while alignment is crucial, technical competence still matters. The ideal, of course, here is finding both. And then the other pitfall is having an undefined or inconsistent vision, of course. You can't hire for alignment if your company direction and values aren't clearly articulated internally first. So, let's say you have a company partner and you both are thinking the company is going to go in different directions. That's going to come out quickly. Also, making assumptions about candidate motivations, let them fully explain their why rather than projecting what you think that means. So when they say something generic or say something that doesn't really mean anything to you, ask deeper questions so you really truly find out what that means. And then creating false expectations during the hiring process is, of course, a huge problem. Like I said, overselling your company culture or opportunity really leads to misalignment once reality sets in, and that goes pretty quickly. Not validating alignment beyond the first interview. So never be tempted not to do your reference checks, and make sure that you do those practical assessments that verify that those stated motivations actually match past behaviors. Again, that's where we get into that pattern recognition, because chances are they're still going to do things the same way they did at their last job. And then overlooking potential growth alignment, because sometimes a candidate's goals may not immediately align, but they could evolve to complement your vision over time with proper mentorship. So that's, again, somebody who seems like they're a great fit, but maybe at the beginning you're a little far apart. So I would keep digging for what do they really want versus what do they think they can want right now. And then, of course, don't confuse personal charm with vision alignment. Likable candidates might seem aligned when they're simply good communicators and good. Sometimes it's just being a good actor, knowing how to interview well, right? Because remember, the candidate who wants the job because it helps them achieve personal goals will work much harder than someone who's just looking for any job. When an employee's goals align with your goals, that's really when that true magic happens. That's when a job isn't just a job, an employee isn't just an employee. So, as most business owners today face those hiring challenges, we really need to think differently. The traditional approach of focusing primarily on skills and experience is just not enough. The most successful hires happen when there's a genuine intersection between what motivates the candidate personally and what your business really needs to thrive. So next time you're interviewing, pay close attention when you ask, why do you want to work here? The answer will reveal your next superstar, not because they have the personal qualifications, but because their personal journey aligns perfectly with your business vision. And of course, that also means you have to know what your business vision is. So thank you for listening today. We have a super cool new tool that we just finished that is worth gold to prep you and help you be successful hiring that next superstar. And the great bonus in this is this will require way less of you than it ever has before, because you can get access to our AI bot that we just developed, loaded with my 20 years of leadership experience. So if you need to get this right, and you know what always gets in the way is time and bandwidth, do yourself a favor and check this out at aibusinessscalingblueprint.com. aibusinessscalingblueprint.com. Great to talk to you today. Have a fabulous week. Happy Easter, and I'll talk to you next time.